The college football experience, Tennessee Volunteers 2024 team preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8. Sign up, and when you do sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer. Once again, up to $250 in bonus cash. Hop on over there. They got college football. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey, this is Pac-Man Jones. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Experience. Tennessee Volunteers 2024 season preview episode. It is a good time to be a Volunteer fan. They waited patiently after Philip Fulmer. They had to go through the Lane Kiffin era, the Derek Dooley era, the Jeremy Pruitt era, the Butch Jones era. And, Josh Heupel, has done a pretty good job there. I think we're going to talk about him in a second, but it's just an exciting time. We're breaking down all 134 college football teams. I think it's the most interesting college football season in the history of my life, looking, going forward. I'm in my 40s also, just to let the fine people know out there. But I do think it is the like coming into it. Me and Patty C were talking about this the other day. We're saying there's like 60 teams that should be optimistic on making the playoffs this year. Doesn't obviously it's a 12-team playoff. We're only going to get 12 of those, but coming into the season, 60 teams with dreams. That shit did not happen before. Tennessee's one of those 60
for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully you can, and folks, hop on over to YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. We're doing this for every single team like we do each and every year. 1 hour dedicated to, we're going to give an hour to the Memphis Tigers, Vanderbilt Commodores, Tennessee Volunteers, obviously on this episode. So hop on over there, check that out wherever podcasts can be found as well. If you're listening on the audio side of things, if you're wondering who the hell I am, that's valid. My name is Colby Swig and Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Can you imagine a playoff game down there at Neyland Stadium? Oh, God, give us that. College football's done right in Knoxville. I love their crowd. I've been to a game there. I've gotten hammered on some pontoon boat on the Tennessee River where that goalpost now resides. And Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide are still complaining about, they stormed the field on us. They stormed the field. That's not right.
Suck it.
Fuck you, Alabama. And, look, can you imagine a home playoff game in Neyland? I got to introduce you first. But, folks, I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for the DFS God himself. Come play DFS college football with us when the season starts. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, farmer, heard the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
I mean, just super excited every day I wake up. When you get to this point, summertime, but I honestly think a year ago I wouldn't be as excited, but with the 12-team playoff and the thought of home games, I'm one death to all bowl games. All right. I want home playoff games. I know we have a small sample size of that, but I'm hoping that this small sample size infects the nation. And one would be in Neyland. Can you imagine a home playoff game?
That would
Neyland?
just be insane. And say 2 years ago when they had a 10-2 regular season, Tennessee would have been in the playoffs if it was, a field of 12 like it will be this year. And that year, chances are they probably would have hosted a home playoff game. It just would have been fantastic. So they'll get another chance this year because the roster's got a lot of talent. The schedule, is not too difficult. There's obviously, some landmines here and there, but I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you are very excited because yes, they do have a realistic chance at making these college football playoffs.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, the sport, it's amazing. The narrative, I know we tackled a little bit of this on Wednesday night, that like the games are less valuable. They're more valuable because we have 60 teams that could make this thing. Exactly. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I don't know, go listen to our week by week preview because you look at and you're just like, whoa, this game all of a sudden, has way more stakes than it did before. And I'll point out a few as we go through the schedule here. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to GBO Farms, longtime Vol fan. There's a lot of good, I think, coming this year. Now that they did lose a lot, but where are we at with Josh Heupel? I think the fear is that if Venables doesn't work out at Oklahoma, Heupel's there. Is that the fear?
I mean, Heupel had a pretty good playing career there. So when the alma mater comes calling, sometimes it's hard to say no. But look, I don't think Tennessee's too concerned about that right now. They're excited for this coming season. Tennessee can go dollar to dollar with pretty much anybody, so money won't be an issue. So enjoy it now. Worry about that if that ever comes to fruition. Who knows?
Yeah, they do have one of the best NIL collectives, and I love their "fuck you NCAA. We'll see you in court." All right, how'd that work, NCAA? Come on, Virginia even tag team. Yeah, let's take a look at Josh Heupel. Folks, I have some sweet graphics behind the scenes, and they need to go back to that old Vols logo. Can we agree on that? The old Vols logo is just absolute fire.
Any logo with a gun, it goes up a couple notches in my book.
That's true. You're right. New Mexico State. Look, everyone else has been afraid to do that. New Mexico State still own it, and I feel like Oklahoma State sometimes does.
Yeah,
Oklahoma State sometimes does. Go back to that thing. Josh Heupel's 27-12 in 3 years. Now you look at what I think Butch Jones was 21-17. Dooley was terrible. All right. Kiffin was there for a cup of tea. So and then you have Pruitt. So ironically,
pretty terrible too.
Yeah, but I would appreciate getting a bag of cash in a Burger King bag, or a McDonald's bag. But look, Heupel's 3-0 against Vanderbilt. Got to beat the Doors. Got to beat the Doors every year. He is 1-2 against Florida, and those haven't been the best Florida teams. But
yeah,
I mean, I'd say that's the worst thing. I mean, 0-3 against Georgia, but Georgia's such a machine right now. You can't really. I mean, yes. If you're a Tennessee fan, you're saying, "Damn it, we should beat Georgia," but Georgia's just rolling over the last cylinders. Yeah,
over the last 3 years, Georgia's only lost to Alabama, right?
Yeah,
right. I don't think. Yeah, so
yeah, probably should have lost to Ohio State, but yes.
Yeah.
Are we forgetting one? No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, because the 2 years where they won the championship, they were both undefeated, right? And then last year they lose to Bama in the SEC championship game.
Yeah. Oh, it was a Chick-fil-A bag. It was class. That's class. That is a big difference too. That is a big difference. 0-3 against Georgia. Now the problem has been those have been some straight ass whoopings though. You know what I mean? Like the Georgia games, but once again, this is there's no more SEC East. So you got that going for you. Last year they lost 38-10 to Georgia. In 2022, I think it was something like that. 27-13 actually. That was the closest one. The 10-win team that year, and then the year prior was 41-17. So it'd be great to get Georgia, but to me the biggest blemish is Florida right now because we know Florida's been down, but he's 2-1 against Missouri. Josh Heupel, where he coached at, previously a couple stops before. 3-0 against Kentucky. That means something. 2-1 against South Carolina. 1-0 against LSU. I like that one. 0-1 against Ole Miss. That one's a little bitter because Lane Kiffin got revenge. And then 1-0 against A&M. 1-1 against Pitt.
That's because you started Joe Milton instead of Hendon Hooker 2 years ago, which probably was a mistake.
That's true. But
he knows probably about it. It was a mistake.
But he also could be 0-2 against Pitt if Pitt's quarterback doesn't get knocked out that game.
That's true.
But what is the best thing there?
I guess you look at their record against SEC East opponents.
And how did I forget Alabama on this fucking sheet? He's 1-2 against Alabama. My bad.
Yeah. I think the SEC opponents not named Florida or Georgia because Tennessee has been able to put themselves right there, after Georgia in the SEC East when it existed. So they went from like middle of the pack in those previous coaches to basically, second best in the SEC East. So I think that 3-0 against Kentucky is huge. 2-1 versus South Carolina, 2-1 versus Missouri. That's really who they were competing with because they weren't on Georgia's level. So that record against some of those schools is pretty nice.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, what is this coming in? Right, 4-6. They only playing 10 games. This isn't the COVID season. Shout out to Robert Martin. Knock on wood. But yeah,
maybe he means some of those wins are going to be vacated, like the 2019 and 2020 or 19 and 20 seasons under Pruitt.
I just love the idea of vacated wins in the SEC.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Come on, who the fuck are we kidding here? All right, let's look at this offense from a year ago. They're 36th in the nation in scoring offense at 31.8 points per game, the 7th best in the SEC. And this is Josh Heupel's, forte in a way. Were you surprised at I wasn't surprised because they went backwards essentially, but we kind of expected that, right?
Well, the year before they were first. That's when Hendon Hooker was lighting it up with Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, and that offense was straight fire. So I think we expected a little bit of a decline, but I think the reason why last year wasn't as good as the year before was the offense definitely took a step back.
Yeah. They were 19th in yards in the nation, 448.1 yards per game, 4th best in the SEC, 50th in passing in the nation, 243.2 yards per game, 8th best in the SEC. The top rushing team in the SEC and 9th best in rushing in general, 204.8 yards per game. It's funny. You think Josh Heupel, I know our friend, rest in peace to the great Mike Leach. He's the one who brought in Josh Heupel to Oklahoma. And I know Heupel, runs the veer and shoot, but it's funny because you just think of like airing it out. You know what I mean? Like Josh Heupel was throwing like 60 times a game at Oklahoma when they won the Natty. And to be a top 10 rushing team, you don't really picture that with Josh Heupel in a way. But yeah, that's been there. That the veer and shoot opens up that. So
was that by necessity? Was Joe Milton not
probably a little bit
the rock, and also Tennessee's defense was better too. So maybe they were kind of going hand in hand, and we're just going to be a little bit more of a slower pace team, run the ball more, control the clock more, let the defense play more. It's interesting though. I don't know what their rushing stat was the year before, but I don't think it was anywhere near as high as this.
Yeah. And shout out to Joe Hackney in here. I think we have an Army Black Knight fan. I can't forgive Tennessee for paying not to play Army a few years back. Cowards. Hey. They did pay the University of Army $1 million not to play. That we must mention that because it's supposed.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
It's supposed to mean more in this conference. Look, the offense should be fine now. The offense was still pretty damn good last year considering. But now you lose what? Joe Milton's off to the NFL. He got drafted, right? He was like third round.
He got drafted.
Sixth round.
Yeah,
right?
by the Patriots. Yeah.
Jalen Wright is gone. Who was pretty darn good for them a year ago as well. They had, I think, 3 or 4 guys drafted.
3 guys drafted. Wright in the 4th. He was the first one. Milton in the 6th, and they also had a cornerback in the 6th. Kind of surprising, only 3 guys drafted, given the amount of talent that's been in there the last couple of years. And nobody in the first 3 rounds.
That is true. That is true. And they still had a good year last year too. So maybe a lot of it is coming back. Let's talk about it because they went out to Long Beach, California, right here, the LBC. All right. Snoop Dogg's got a bowl game. Maybe they can meet in the middle here. And they brought in Nico Iamaleava, I think it is. See what I did there?
Iamaleava.
Well, something like that.
I'm not sure if I'm right. Trust me.
Yeah.
Can we just call him Nico?
Let's just go Nico. He's from LA. Actually, I have a friend that is a friend of his family, I guess. And he's been a stud everywhere he's been. So and last year he started one game in the bowl game. He looked good, man. He looked good. So
only threw for $150 in that game, but he did run for I think 3 touchdowns.
But to get a start against, there was like a top 10 defense, right?
Sure.
So
no, I mean, this guy has a very high ceiling. He was a top recruit for a reason. Not a whole lot of attempts under his belt so far. So I think you have to say he's a bit of a question mark, but it sure sounds like he's going to step in right away and be pretty damn good.
Yeah. And Iamaleava.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's gonna be every announcer across America covering college and podcaster covering college football. They're gonna need a whiskey with that. All right, it's like when I do the BYU team preview. Well, and shout out to Welcome to UAB, who every year that's the one he wants to listen to the most because I just can't pronounce a goddamn person on that team. But anyway, let's go. GPO's going back and forth with Robert Martin. Apparently, that was Robert Martin's daughter that said 4-6.
Oh man, she hates the Vols.
Yeah, 10-game season. She's wishing for another COVID year. Yeah. Okay. Look at this offense though. They only returned 5 starters. Now, granted, 3 of them are the offensive line: Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, and John Campbell Jr. And look, I think I had this guy in my fantasy team last year, and I thought he was going to be better, but Squirrel White's back. Anytime you get a guy named Squirrel from the state of Tennessee or in the state of Tennessee, that's fantastic for the sport. And also Bru McCoy, the former, I think he was a 5-star at USC in Texas and every goddamn school in the nation. But the receiving room looking all right. The offensive line should be solid with 3 of 5 back. I think the real question is the young quarterback and maybe the run game a little bit. But what do you make of the 5 returning starters?
Well, a couple of things. I think Mays was injured early in the year, out for the season, so his return will certainly help bolster that O-line. And if you're looking at the receiver group, I mean, there may not be a Tillman or a Hyatt on it, but this is a really deep receiver group. Ramel Keaton is gone, but they returned 3 of their top 4 pass catchers at wideout with White, McCoy, and Thornton. And then I know you're going to get into some of the transfers coming in, but they got a guy, Chris Brazzell, from Tulane, who was very good a season ago. And watch out for the 5-star Mike Matthews, who apparently looks very good in the spring. So very deep. That receiver group has got to be one of the best in the SEC.
Yeah, and then you add in the fact, keep an eye on Dylan. Let me talk to Sampson at the running back spot. He had a decent game, and I think towards the end of the season.
In the bowl game.
Yeah,
the bowl game, he went over 150, I think, was it, against Iowa? So he's a guy who might not be able to be a bell cow, but I think you pair him with Peyton Lewis, and it sounds like the running back position is going to be fine too. Will they miss Jalen Wright? Yeah, to a degree, but I think they're okay at running back as well. Yeah.
They did lose a couple guys in the portal, all on the offensive lines. Surprisingly, it's I guess, okay. Mo Clipper is off to a Biff. He saw a better opportunity. Right?
I can't blame him, right?
He saw Biff Poggi with his fucking his sleeveless T-shirt with the cigar in his mouth. It says, "Why don't you come down here and be part of the Clit?" All right. He left for the Charlotte Clits. Biff Poggi, future national championship coach. Connor Meadows headed out to Tennessee State. Eddie George still doing still coaching there, doing work. Addison Nichols heads out to Arkansas, who is on the schedule, and same with offensive tackle Gerald Mincy heading out to Kentucky on the schedule. All in all, it's not many players gone. A little weird that they're all in the offensive line. Maybe they just had better offensive linemen coming in and they said, "Hey, get the hell out." Do you think that's substantial at all?
It might hurt depth a little bit, but with 3 returners coming in and getting that big get in the portal from LSU, Lance Hurd, who I think they're going to plug him in at left tackle right away. Again, I think the O-line's fine too. There's a lot to like with this Tennessee offense in general. I think, like you alluded to earlier, it's really going to come down to the quarterback position. Is Nico going to be closer to Hendon Hooker, closer to Joe Milton? It depends on where he falls.
Yeah. In the portal, they brought in Tommy Winton from East Tennessee State Buccaneers. Chris Brazzell, who you just talked about from the Tulane Green Wave. As I'm sure you are well aware,
it's easy to see a tide turn.
Tight end Holden Stays from Notre Dame. Any Notre Dame tight end is always good. All right, this goes back to fucking Mark Bavaro. All right, it just okay, good get. Tight end Miles Kitselman from Alabama. Always great to get anyone from Alabama on the team. And Lance Hurd at the offensive tackle spot you just alluded to, coming over from LSU. Brian Kelly and his family. I still think they won the portal. I know GBO is talking about Nichols and Mincy hurt leaving, but I kind of feel like they still won the portal. Am I crazy?
I was kind of surprised that they weren't all that active in the portal. I don't think. I think you probably only have one starter, and that's Hurd. But I don't think they lost a bunch of starters either. I mean, some of some of those guys on the O line. I'm going to say it's a kind of a wash, at least offensively.
Let's talk about that defense. But before I do that, I want to tell you folks out there that you're listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And make sure you join Noah Beanick on the College Baseball Experience, live streaming each night on YouTube or available wherever, you download your podcasts at, whatever platform, for daily coverage of, daily coverage and daily picks for the greatest show on dirt, AKA the College Baseball World Series, all the way to the end of June. And obviously the Tennessee Volunteers, a juggernaut when it comes to college baseball. And yeah, wouldn't that be great to see them win? Also, the Circa announced they're giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP to get $50 off. That's footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount, and you can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So what are you doing? All right, don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, defensively, Tim Banks' squad, and I know he's raving in the offseason about, I watched a couple clips before this about him talking about this D-line. He loves this D-line this year. 22nd in scoring per game last year at 22 points per game. It's 22 everything. 5th best in the SEC. 32nd in yards, giving up 348.7 yards per game. 5th best in the SEC. The pass defense was the weakness. 64th in the nation in pass defense. 234.9 yards per game. That was 10th best in the SEC. And 19th in rush defense at 113.8 yards per game. 2nd best in the SEC. But I guess you got to ask yourself, was the rush defense really that good, or just teams knew that you could pass on them all game?
Perhaps some of both.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you make of those stats? I know, the defense. Are you impressed by those numbers? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think I was. I think Tennessee fans are probably pleasantly surprised how well the defense played last year. I think they improved on the year before, but the one glaring stat right there is 10th in the SEC against the pass. That's going to be an issue with the SEC passing the ball. A lot more teams are favoring the pass over the run. I think that needs to improve if the Vols are going to reach their ceiling.
Yeah. This is crazy to me. They only have 2 returning starters. And I love Smokey, by the way. Smokey, underrated, top 10 mascot, right?
Oh yeah, come on. I mean, it's so fitting.
Yeah, it's just perfect. So they return James Pierce on the defensive line and defensive tackle Omari Thomas. That's it. You know, that is normally a big ass red flag, right? Normally.
Only 2 returners is pretty crazy. Now there's a couple other guys, like one of the linebackers, Keenan Peely, was out for the year. I think you can almost consider him a starter back. But yeah, that's alarming, you know, especially if we get into their secondary. Granted, it was very bad a season ago, but they lost 10 defensive backs between graduation and the portal. So
yeah,
that's insane.
yeah, and some of them. I mean, look, you lost Cameron Douglas on the D line to Tennessee State. Eddie George is coming in and gutting your team. No, I'm joking, but he did pick up 3 guys. Linebacker Elijah Herring heads off to Memphis. Yeah, I think he was a big recruit, but just hadn't worked out. He's now going down there to the Tigers. Christian Conyer to the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Defensive back. Also defensive back Malik Ganaway to Tennessee State and Eddie George. Danico Slaughter, I think it is, to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Also, defensive back Deshaun Rucker to South Florida. Jack Luttrell to the Arizona Wildcats. Brandon Turnage to Ole Miss. That one was kind of surprising to me, I thought. And Warren Burrell to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I mean, they did go out and get a couple guys. Jackson Moy coming in from Stanford, Jalen McMurray from Temple of all places. Jermod McCoy from Oregon State, the Beavers. They had a great defense over the past few years, and Jacoby Thomas from Middle Tennessee State. Do we think this defense will be improved? Because here's something else that's going on. Obviously, you know, this is, I just said, the most interesting college football season, you know, I think in my lifetime. And no more SEC East. You have no more divisions, and obviously you got Texas and Oklahoma joining the conference. So 16 teams and no more divisions. You have a couple protected games, but you know, normally for SEC East teams, you would say, you know, because the SEC West has been the far more dominant division lately. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Anything else you want to say on the defense, Nick?
I think the front 7 is fine. You know, you mentioned James Pierce, one of the returning starters. That guy had 10 sacks as a sophomore last year. He's a projected top 10 pick in the NFL draft. The real question mark is the secondary, and they have some new faces there, like your slide shows. They need to perform right away. They need to get better against the pass, and especially considering how good the pass rush has been, it's surprising, you know, how bad they've been against the pass in general, because usually a good pass rush makes up for some, you know, maybe average play in the secondary, but they certainly need improvement there. I think the front 7's fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And shout out to those graphics, right? I mean, look at that. Look at that end zone.
It's pretty fire.
Those ends, dude, that Neyland is folks, go listen to the Stadium Heads podcast. Myself and Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, talking about the history of college football stadiums and why college football is the greatest thing to ever hit planet Earth. Talking about Neyland Stadium, man, we did a deep dive on Neyland Stadium and all the SEC stadiums. I had a power rank number 1 in the SEC. I had a power rank as my number 1 SEC stadium.
Are you just pandering to those Vols fans now?
Well, no, I mean, I've actually been to a lot of SEC stadiums, more than the Big Ten I've been to, you know, but Tennessee was the one, and it was even in pouring rain, which I think helps my experience. Most people hate that. I like that when that happens. So, yes, we need to do a trip to Neyland. You need to do a trip to Neyland. You're even close, dude.
Yeah, really no excuse. I should. GBO Farms, invite me to a game already, man. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Get them tickets to the Chattanooga game. Anyway, the win total is sitting there at 8.5. We're going to talk all about it, but before I do that, I want to tell you the Tennessee Volunteers season preview episode on the College Football Experience is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Rhythm is a prediction and projections app that makes data and analytics and sports betting easy for everyone. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists, just like Pick Dundee. Anyway, with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions, they've done all this stuff. All right. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, best in class, stuff. And without you needing to endlessly scroll through a sports book or look at multiple sites for trends and predictions and try to combine all of them. Stop it. You got something that they do it for you. It's called Rhythm. All right. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Once again, that's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seats, and the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Take the guesswork out. All right. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. 8.5 is the win total. Now this thing is juiced
pretty heavily.
Yes, to the over. So Vegas leans to a 9-3 season. I'm currently seeing on DK -170 on the over, +145 on the under. So to win the SEC championship, +1200. To make the 12-team playoff, +180. To not make it, -235. That's crazy though. So they think a 9-3 season is going to happen, but yet they don't think they're going to make the playoffs. If you really look into that,
yeah.
Vegas is saying 9-3, but no playoffs. Which 9-3 in the SEC, I think, is going to get you on that
close.
Yeah, I think there'll be a 9-3 team in the playoffs from the SEC.
But we probably think there could be like 6 or more SEC teams with 9-3 or better records. So everybody's not going to make it. I think you really want to get to 10 wins if you want to guarantee a spot in the playoffs. Can 9 get a certain team in with the right schedule, the right big wins in an SEC team? Then I think yes, but I think if you go 9-3, you're really sweating it out.
We were talking about this on the LSU preview. Last year, LSU went 9-3, but they would not have gotten in the 12-team playoff based off of from what we projected. Which is crazy in a way, because I think they had a win against Missouri. Missouri would have gotten in over them, but to win the national championship, they're +3,500. Any besides, what's the play right there? We're going to go game by game on the schedule in a second here, but anything stand out to you there that just says,
I do like the over, but I don't know if I'm willing to lay -170. At that point, you almost might want to take a look at an alt line if you can get it at 9.5, or maybe just
12-team playoff.
That's exactly. Yeah. Cause there's a chance if they go 9-3, they can still get in, but if they go 10-2, I think they're kind of a shoe in. So I don't know if I'd lay 170 on an over, even though I think that's where I'll pick it at. So maybe you do look for a 12-team playoff.
Yeah. I think if you're GBO or if you're a Vol fan, sprinkle a little bit of that right now. Let's get into it, because the schedule starts off with the Chattanooga Mocs. I love a little in-state matchup. You know what I mean? Even though they never play Memphis, dude, hook me up with a close game here, right? I just like Chattanooga's getting better too. They're a solid team in the FCS. No, they're gonna win by 45. We all got them 1-0, and then they have this neutral site game in Charlotte against the Pussy Pack known as NC State. Get this out of here. Tennessee's 2-0. They cruise. They cruise to a win against. Is Dave
cruise to a win? I think it's gonna be a close game.
Has Dave Dorn ever won a big game?
I don't know, but you keep on talking shit about NC State, and it helped motivate their basketball team, their baseball team. So keep it up, and maybe the football team too.
Women's basketball too.
That's right.
Final Four, yeah.
I kind of root for NC State in the ACC. given the fact that I live in Raleigh. But if I'm being honest, these are games that the SEC usually wins. There's been a couple cases over the last 5 or 10 years. Like I think UNC beat South Carolina one year in the opener. But usually the SEC wins this. I think they're two kind of comparable teams, but I think Tennessee is a little bit better. It's going to be probably at least a 50-50 crowd, if not maybe 60-40 in Tennessee's favor.
I was about to say Tennessee. I bet you Tennessee, has a better crowd than.
What Tennessee has going for is that they're the only show in town or in the state. So the whole state of Tennessee, whether they went there or not, probably roots for the Vols.
Well, the Memphis Tigers are on the come up, buddy. You see that
in North
donation?
Carolina, there's so many fine institutions of higher learning that the fan bases are somewhat divided.
Wait. You said. Can you repeat that really quick? You said. Did you say higher learning?
The fuck is that? Yes.
I know the SEC and Tennessee doesn't care about that.
I read that Chapel Hill, that North Carolina essay that that the basketball team was doing on Rosa Parks. It was like one paragraph about Rosa Parks, and could have been done in about 3 minutes.
And when Butch Davis was at UNC, the football team, they got away with a lot of shit too. So no, hey, it's a good thing for your athletic program if they don't have to focus too much on academics. I agree. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but give me Tennessee to beat NC State, unfortunately.
Oh, look at that. There we go. 2-0, and then Kent State. You might as well be playing a middle of the road FCS team. Like Kent State's horrible. 3-0. That score is going to be 65-3.
Yeah.
3-0 right there. Non-con, pretty damn light. You know what I mean? It's pretty light.
Well, throw in UTEP. You go down a little bit further. That's the fourth non-con game. I mean, you got the neutral site versus NC State, which is a good game. But other than that, I mean, the other three games are a cakewalk.
Chattanooga's the second. I know I power ranked UTEP because it was like FBS Kent State, but I actually think Chattanooga beats Kent State and probably UTEP. I don't know UTEP by that point.
Yeah,
maybe not because they're breaking in a brand new head coach, but
still they're not a threat to walk into to Neyland and win. So I am 4-0 at a conference. I mean, and that's the trick too. Like you mentioned, LSU last year wouldn't have got in. It's because they had a non-con loss. Any of these top tier SEC schools, if they can run the table out of conference, like I think Missouri will, like I think Ole Miss will, if Tennessee can also, then they're in kind of like a driver's seat to make those playoffs. Lose to NC State, and then it gets tricky because you're probably going to have a couple losses in conference.
And thus is my point, though, that I completely push back on anyone that says like, well, before you had, every game mattered. So much bullshit. It did not matter at all for Florida State last year. They played 12 games and they won them all. Actually, they played 13 games and they won them all, and it didn't matter. And now this NC State game could be super substantial. You know what I mean? Like much more important than it would have been prior. Now, conference play starts on September 21st, and they head to Norman, Oklahoma. Josh Heupel won a national championship in Norman. I don't know why they haven't built him a statue yet, but they got one of Sam Bradford, but they don't have one of Josh Heupel. Flag on the fucking play here. Look, I understand Bradford won a Heisman, but Josh Heupel won you a national fucking championship. Get the Heupel statue built. This is to me the biggest game probably on the schedule to me. This so I have them losing either this or the Arkansas game. Like they play they don't have back-to-back away. There's a bye week smash between them. At Oklahoma, bye week at Arkansas. Bobby Petrino, aka Road Rash Face, is back in Fayetteville. I personally think it might be this one, but because Oklahoma and Norman, they hardly ever lose unless you're Kansas State, which just has a knack for beating them.
And let's not forget, this will be Nico's first road trip. That's a hell of a tough first road trip as a starter.
Yeah, I'm taking Oklahoma there. Taking Oklahoma. They're 3-1, and because I'm taking Oklahoma, I'm taking Tennessee to come out of the bye week and beat Sam Pulled Pork Pittman and Road Rash Face in Fayetteville.
Yep, agreed.
So 4-1. They then host the Florida Gators, which for some reason, I just think this is an easy win, but I guess not. He's 1-2 against the Gators. This could be the game that gets Napier fired.
Even the home game in 2022, where Tennessee, that was been their best year for a long time. They won by 5 at home against Florida.
I'm still taking Tennessee, man. Florida, I don't think is any good this year, but
at home
yeah.
You have to take Tennessee.
So that puts me at 5-1. Home to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Look, I know Alabama's roster is so scattered with 4 and 5 stars. We released our Alabama preview. Go listen to that. It's great to sign in every day and read the amount of people calling me a piece of shit. Love that. With my morning coffee, there's nothing better than just loading up a bunch of comments of hate. But they're beating Alabama here, and the goalpost. Look, bring them to the river again. Storm the field again. All right, storm the field again. I don't care about Sankey's bullshit. We'll fine you. Who cares? Storm the field again if you beat them. If Alabama's undefeated in this game, you storm and you storm again, because that is college sports. Damn it! Don't let these suits tell you otherwise. I got them beating Bama. Who do you got winning this one?
I think you're right. Again, go back to the last time they played. They won that classic game 2 years ago. But Alabama is going to take a step back here. It remains to be seen how big that step is going to be. But Tennessee at home. I mean, here's a nice little stretch of 4 home games, and I think they start off that stretch 2-0.
Yeah. So they're 6-1. Is it at that point? Right? No. Yes. 6-1.
6-1. Now, and what a perfectly timed bye week if they do get that win.
100%. 100%.
Because if they had to play somebody, say they had Kentucky the next week, and they'd be celebrating that Bama win until Thursday, So, yeah. But the bye week is situated very nicely here.
And then they host the Kentucky Wildcats, and they have really kind of owned Kentucky in the Stoops era. I think Stoops is 2-9 against Tennessee. I don't see any reason why to fade them now. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen at Commonwealth. I got them beating Kentucky, and I got them moving to 7-1.
When we go on an individual basis, I think I tend to agree with you. Now the question is, how many of these? No, I wouldn't say coin flip, but how many of these close games are they going to win them all? Are they going to win at the NC State, the Bama, the Kentucky?
I don't have Kentucky as a close game.
I'm going to go Tennessee too. I'm just saying that the way it looks, unless you have, Vanderbilt pulling a shocker, and I know you like Diego pissing Pavia, but the way it looks, it sounds like we're going to have them at 10-2. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're more like 9-3, and maybe they drop a game to someone.
I think if you're going to say what's the one we don't see, it could be Arkansas.
Yeah.
It could be Arkansas.
Again, another nicely situated bye week right before that game too, though.
Yeah, no back-to-back away games on the whole schedule. After Kentucky, they're home to Mississippi State. Now, I will say this is a little interesting because Jeff Lebby was the offensive coordinator for Josh Heupel at UCF. So if anyone's getting, so Jeff Lebby's sitting there saying, he's saying something regarding this matchup. When he sees this on the schedule, he pretty much says this:
"Because I understand how the bastard thinks. I taught him. Now I own one."
Well, actually, that might be Josh Heupel saying that. But
also, Lebby doesn't have the guys to go on the road and beat Tennessee, so I don't think that's going to be interesting.
I'll tell you this: coming in, if you had blindly told me, not Tennessee, but I'm just saying, Exhibit A, SEC team, if you told me what are the teams you want on the schedule, I would say within the SEC, I would say, give me Arkansas, give me Kentucky, give me Mississippi State, give me Vanderbilt.
I don't know about Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's solid.
Yeah, I think they're phony. I always think they're phony.
Well, I think
their SEC better, record speaks otherwise.
They're better than South Carolina.
I think it's harder to win at South Carolina than it is at Kentucky.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But South Carolina would be the only one that's not on this schedule. Is my point.
But I don't think Kentucky deserves to be grouped into that list.
Stoops is 2-9 against Tennessee, dude.
Well, you weren't saying that Tennessee. You were just saying in general.
Well, I just think, like, to me, Kentucky. I just did the Kentucky preview. Hold on, what I got this shit somewhere right here. He is, dude. He's 34-56 against the SEC. So like,
well, yes, but a lot of that was in the first couple years when he was inheriting a mess.
The past 2 years, he's 6-10 against the SEC. They always do a bullshit job of like, hey, let's do 3 MAC games, and then we'll beat Vanderbilt and South Carolina, and our cross division game against Mississippi State every year. Right.
Well, Kentucky's at least a middle of the road SEC team right now. They're not the very bottom.
I would say I want them on the schedule though. Like if I know they're not the very bottom, but I'm saying like if you were telling me Exhibit A, I need what could I be hoping for when the SEC releases the schedules? I would want Kentucky on the schedule, and I would also want Florida this year.
True. Okay. All right. I can agree with that, I suppose, but I just don't want you to put them in like that bottom quadrant.
Yeah. Who is that? Who the hell is that over there? Huh? Adolph Rupp talking over there. I didn't know you're such a part of Big Blue Nation. But
look, someone needs to stand up for them. Apparently, you're throwing them in there with Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. Come on.
Hey, Mississippi State. When the college football playoffs were announced in their first ever year in 2014, Mississippi State was number 1 in the nation. Kentucky's never sniffed that.
I'm talking about this year. Who you want on your schedule?
All right. Well, look,
let's get back to Tennessee here. Come on.
Hold on. And I would also say I would want no back-to-back away. They got all of that. So
True.
Yes, they're going to beat Mississippi State on November 9th. And then on November 16th at Georgia, they're going to get their ass kicked again. But
You're probably right.
Who cares? Right. Yeah. Now you have a playoff, so you can essentially maybe avoid another rematch with Georgia. Yeah. After that, you're home to the UTEP Miners. They brought in the coach from Austin P. Drawing a blank on his name right now.
Yeah, same here.
I know his name though, but I'm a big fan of him actually.
Well, don't worry, because all the Tennessee
What's
fans out there, I don't think they probably know his name either, so it's okay.
No, they probably do because he was at Austin P. But then they end the season in Nashville at the construction zone. They're still doing construction on the stadium. That probably helps Vanderbilt in this game actually. Because Tennessee normally packs that thing with Vol fans. Right?
True.
So they should just say, you know what? Whole stadium's down. Whole stadium's down except for the field. Watch out for this one. I think Vanderbilt's going to be a little chippier than people think this year. Now, when I say chippier, I still project like a 3 or 4 win season for them.
The score was 48-24 last year. In the year before that at Vandy was 56-0. I know you like Diego Pavia, but I don't know.
Hey, Diego Pavia 1-0 against the SEC last year. All right. Jerry Kill's part of that staff now. Let's go Doors. I got him 10-2, man. I think the over's the play.
I mean, the over's definitely the play, which is why it's minus 170. If we just went game by game, I have them at 10-2 also. But realistically, I think they're probably 9-3. They're going to lose one of those games to NC State, to Alabama, to Kentucky or Florida or something. I don't know, somewhere like that. But
he keeps pushing this Kentucky narrative, GBO Farms. This fucking guy.
Hey, could they go 10-2 for sure? And a couple of these SEC schools are going to, and Tennessee's right in the mix because they have a good team and a nice schedule. But that's similar to what we've said about some of these other SEC teams too. So it's going to be interesting.
I think you load up because we have a 10-2. So buy that 12-team playoff ticket plus 180. I mean, shit. You know what's crazy about this, man, is they could play, dude. The more we preview all these SEC teams, we're starting with the SEC. We've gone through all the teams for the exception of Texas A&M, and Vandy now. The more I think about this, the more I think like it might be worth taking a shot on them plus 1,200 to win the championship, the SEC championship. And hear me out. I think Georgia's going to beat them head to head, but Georgia plays Alabama in Alabama and Texas at Texas. And Ole Miss at Ole Miss. I think it's more likely Georgia has 2 losses than most years. And if they have 2 losses, can Tennessee, I think, Oklahoma is not returning a lot of production from a year ago. So if they could steal that game, they would only have 1 loss within conference and it wouldn't even matter. Now that we have these gigantic conferences, you're not necessarily going to see the best 2 teams in the championship game, which make it very interesting for a first round bye. But like I said, I want I almost, as a fan of Neyland, I want Tennessee to not get the first round bye. I want them
so they can host a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first ever playoff. I want to showcase how awesome the college environments are, so they would do it more. So obviously, like, get some good venues. I don't want to see a game at, Miami or something, Miami Gardens, where the crowd's half empty. You know what I mean? So, but I'm on the over, and I feel pretty strongly about this one, man. And I was going through the SEC win totals that I've done. I don't have a lot of overs thus far. I think I have Georgia as an over, Tennessee as an over, and then I was going through, I think I have a few. LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU would be the overs that I have. The rest, I think I lean under. It's going to be fascinating to watch, man.
I'm definitely on the over as well. I think Tennessee fans should be excited. They probably can't wait for this season to begin, and we're right there with you.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's it. That's our show. That's our show right there. I mean, what do you think the biggest game of the season is? It's that Oklahoma game, dude.
I think so.
They win that Oklahoma game.
Right.
If they win that Oklahoma game, I mean, maybe that you could talk me into the Bama one too, but
yeah, I think they need to win one of those. If you split, because we're kind of giving the Georgia game as a loss, we're kind of just chalking that up as an L. So win one of the between Oklahoma and Bama, win one, and Tennessee's in good shape.
Yeah. It's gonna be fascinating to watch, folks. Stick around. Later in the day, we're gonna have some more shows, and then obviously this weekend, gonna tackle Texas, Vanderbilt, and Texas A&M. So check out the college football experience as we break down all 134 FBS teams with an hour dedicated to every school in the land. We got the Mountain Wests coming up after the SEC, followed by the Big Ten. But yes, please, if you can, hop on over youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. Also check out the college baseball experience and the college basketball experience and the FCS college football experience. Maybe you are a Chattanooga Mocs fan. All right. Get on over there, check it out. And also don't forget to check out the Stadium Heads podcast, myself and Michael Barker, talking the greatest stadiums and why college football is the greatest thing we have in America. And yeah, give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at DColbyD. The college football experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And yeah, can't wait for the season. Love this stuff. This 12-team playoffs just got me. It's like I said, I feel like I'm
a kid on Christmas Day.
Oh, I was about to say Marion Barry at a hotel room, but either way, let's go. Until next time, folks, this is the college football experience. Tennessee Vols style. Bring back that logo. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.